Assalamualaikum and hello to all. Today we're going to discuss about external sector, import and export during pandemic. So before that, I'm going to introduce me and my group member. So we have Nazira, Khaleeda, Najihah, Marsya and me Asyiqin.
I'm here today to explain a little bit about our studies title. The external sector refers to a country that interacts with or has economic relation to with other countries. It also refers to all international economic transactions between the people of that country, whether they are in a private or public sector or with the whole world. It is the external market that involves export and import. Import are goods and services that are brought in from one country of origin. Exports are goods or services that brought out by the country of origin to be traded in other countries. Exporting and importing these goods and services is not only the core of any big and successful business, but it helps the country economy grow rapidly. At the same time, this import and export can help each country that have lacks its own resources develop and improve its overall economy.
From the chart, as we can see, the graph increased inconsistently since January 2020 because of the pandemic COVID-19. In April 2020 was the lowest recorded of domestic export and lowest re-export was recorded on May 2020 as the spread of a very severe COVID-19 epidemic. But it managed to recover back on June 2020, which is in the domestic export reached to 70 billion ringgit. In annual change for export also increased time to time. But in April 2020, showed the annual change of export was at the lowest point. It took a year to increase the annual change at the highest point in April 2021. From the chart, the lowest of annual growth rate on May 2020. On the May 2020, the annual growth rate of import became negative because affected of spread of COVID-19. It took a year to get the highest import on May 2021, which is the annual growth rate reached to 50%. For the next month, the annual growth rate dropped to 32, which is resulting a 22 difference, and it dropped until August 2021 at the point of 50%. It also a huge difference, which is become more than half of annual growth rate on June 2021. In September 2021, the annual growth rate increased a little and it reached 27% and slowly increased a little to 2% for the next month. Other than that, the highest graph is worth 80 billion ringgit and it was consistently at that point in 3 months since May 2022.
For the COVID-19 pandemic, it was anticipated that Malaysian commerce would recover with the country's total gross export forecast to increase by 1% in 2020 as a result of improvements in global trade activity and an expansion of the electrical and electronic cycle. Malaysia's trade balance showed a surplus in the first quarter of 2020 at 37 billion, up 0.1% over the corresponding period in the previous year. The COVID-19 epidemic and the adoption of the control order movement, however, will cause Malaysia's export growth rate to decline by 30.6% the 2009 financial. The manufacturing sector, which makes up the largest portion of Malaysia's total commerce, had an increase in export of 2.5%, with petroleum products and iron and steel production being the biggest contributors. Due to a decrease in the export of liquefied natural gas and petroleum, the mining sector's export fell by 10.4%. For the first quarter of 2020, Malaysia's primary trading partners are China, Singapore, the US and the EU.
Following the decline in import of capital, good part and accessory, import of intermediate product, which account for 49% of all import and are valued at 32.84 billion, fell by 17.8%. Product, especially electrically, machinery, equipment and parts, excluding transport equipment, 11.66 billion in ringgit Malaysia, or 11.4% of all import of capital goods, decreased by 1.8%. This fall was mostly attributable to lower import of capital goods, other than transportation equipment, particularly part of machinery and mechanically applies and consumption goods import, which make up 6.6% of all import and total 3.63 billion ringgit Malaysia, increased by 11.2% as a result of increased import of durable products, particularly mechanical and machinery part, import total 5,084.62 billion ringgit Malaysia from January to September 2020, down 6.9% from the same period in 2019. Capital goods 7.59 billion, a reduction of 7.8%. Consumption goods 45.27 billion, a fall of 0.3%, and intermediate goods total 311.11 billion, a loss of 10.3%.
This study provides an overview of the COVID-19 scenario in Malaysia. Furthermore, this study examined the impact of COVID-19 on the external sector, import and export during the pandemic. The pandemic of the new coronavirus infection, which has already spread to the manufacturing industry, has a direct impact on the manufacturing industry. In addition, the demand side has been severely impacted, with MITI identifying a key role that could be pursued during the period of the Movement Control Order (MCO). Additionally, annual adjustment as well as internet import, export, and re-export RMBN have affected. Additionally, we were able to show the ups and downs in trading performance between January and September 2020. That's it from us. Thank you.